confession to make. Even after years of experience, I've still struggled with imposter syndrome. You know, that feeling that you're not good enough or that you're not capable enough or you just don't have what it takes. And if you're a business owner, leader, or entrepreneur, let's be honest, you probably felt it too, right? Don't leave me out here by myself alone. You launch your business, but deep down you begin to wonder, what if I really don't have what it takes? What if people find out I'm not as good as they think? What if I fail and I prove, right, that I was never as good. I was never good to begin with. And you know, here's the wild part. Even some of the most successful people in the world, we're talking about the Michelle Obamas, we're talking about the Tom Hanks, we're talking about the Moseses, right? Yes, that Moses. The Moses who was led by God to lead the children of Israel out of Egyptian captivity. That Moses that performed miracles. That Moses that had direct conversations with God. Yes, that Moses struggled with imposter syndrome and self-doubt and an inability to believe that he could really do the thing that God has called him to do. And in his story, we can find powerful lessons that can help us as business owners push past those feelings of self-doubt and stop playing small and really step boldly into that calling, whatever it may be that we feel that God is leading us to. And by the end of this video, you'll not only understand why imposter syndrome is a lie, why it happens, but you'll also have practical steps to fight it and move forward in your business with confidence. So if you've ever doubted yourself, keep watching because this is for you. Now, what exactly is imposter syndrome? I'm a big proponent of definitions. I feel like definitions are important. And before we dive into the story of Moses, we want to make sure that we're clear on what it is. And for my purposes, I'm defining it as that persistent fear that you're just not capable as people think. And the thought that at any moment, someone is going to find you out. They're going to realize that you're really a fraud. You just don't know what you're talking about. You know, the crazy part of imposter syndrome is that it affects high achievers the most. And I'm saying that so we don't begin to say, oh, you know, what's wrong with me that I have these feelings or that I have these thoughts, because it is a common occurrence in all people, in most people. I mean, I have worked with clients that are successful, that have millions of dollars their companies are making, and yet imposter syndrome in some form or fashion is still a reality of their life. It happens to CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business leaders all the time. So you're in good company. And so what I want us to do is take a look at the story of Moses and then begin to look at some real lessons that we can gather from the story of Moses. And the first lesson is that God has called you. God has called you. And that's an important fact. And we'll talk about why that's important. Now, you remember the beginnings of Moses' life, right? He was in the wilderness. He was tending sheep and he sees a burning bush. And out of the burning bush, the voice of the Lord calls to him. And God says to Moses, listen, Moses, I have chosen you to go to Egypt and to call my people out of slavery. And Moses looks around. He says, me? You're talking to me? You're talking to me, Lord? You must have made a mistake, right? And Moses begins right away to begin to doubt himself and to begin to see all the reasons why he is not up to the task to do the very thing that the God of this universe is calling him to do. And he says to God, like, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? Who am I that I should take on this task? And maybe it sounds familiar to you, Moses' response. I know it sounds familiar to me. How many times have you felt a calling, an impression, a drive to do something? Maybe it's starting a business, or if the business is already started, it's launching out in a new endeavor. It is achieving a big goal that seems huge and audacious, or maybe to step out as a leader, but your first thought is, me? No way. I am not ready. Someone else is more qualified. Someone else is more capable than I am. But here's what we need to remember. God doesn't make mistakes, right? And if he's called you, then he's placed the wisdom in your heart because you are the right person for it. You are the right person for it. And in business, this looks like you're not here by accident. The ideas you have are not random occurrences. And your business is really not just about making money. It's about fulfilling your God-given purpose for your existence. So instead of focusing on yourself and all the things that you don't have, let us begin to focus on who is calling you. Because your ability to complete it is based on who is calling you and not all the things you have or you feel that you don't have. Lesson 2 is that you're not doing this alone. You're not doing this alone. Moses was doubting himself. This man was downright afraid to move forward and to do anything. He gave every excuse in the book. What if they don't believe me? Was one of them, right? I'm not a good speaker. Why don't you send someone else? Isn't Aaron better suited to do something like this? You know, Aaron has all the degrees. He's a polished public speaker. He's strategic in his mindset. I think you really meant Aaron and not Moses, right? But God said, no, Moses, I'm talking to you. You are the one that I'm calling. Because let's be real, on this entrepreneurship journey, it can feel downright lonely. It can feel downright difficult, right? You feel at times that you're in this battle alone, but the reality is that you're not. The God who has called you is walking with you through it. And the strength that you need is found in the fact that you're not doing this by yourself, right? You're not left to your own devices to figure it out and to make things work. God is with you every step of the way, and there is strength in that reality. Lesson number 3 is you already have what you need. Now, one of my favorite moments in the story is in Exodus chapter 4. And it's when Moses is doubting himself. He's listing all the things of why he's not qualified or what he can't do. Or why he can't do it. And God asked him one simple question, right? He says to Moses, what is in your hand? And in my mind, you know, Moses looks down and he's like, my staff, you know, it's just a stake, an ordinary stake that I've used for years to lead my sheep from place to place. There's nothing to see here. It's just a staff. But that staff would soon become a tool for miracles, right? It was that staff that parted the Red Sea. It was that staff that struck a rock and water flowed from it. That staff became a symbol of power. And here's the lesson for you and I in that aspect of the story. And that is that God has already given you and me every single thing that we need. That marketing skill that you have and that you take for granted, mind you, the ability to connect with people, maybe it's the unique experiences you've had in your life. It's already in your hands, and God is seeking to use those things that's already in your hands for his glory and for the benefit of society and to advance you in the line of work that he has called you to. So here's something that I want you to do, right? Here's a little moment for you to practice some of the things that we're talking about. Today, or at some point, whenever you're watching this video, I want you to take a moment and do 3 things. Number 1, I want you to list 5 business skills that you have, whether that's marketing, whether that's you have a strategic mindset, whether you're a great communicator, whatever that is, I want you to list that out. And then I want you to think about 3 challenges that you've already overcome in your business or just in your life period, right? And then lastly, I want you to think about 3 unique strengths that makes you or your business different. What is 3 things about you that is unique to who you are and that helps in some ways to differentiate you? And here's how I want you to use it. When imposter syndrome comes along and tells you that you are not enough or that you can't do this, you're not capable, I want you to look at that list and say, no, I already have what I need. I already have the experience that I need. God has placed all the things that I need, all the provisions that I need in my hands so that I can accomplish his will for my life. The next one the next lesson I should say is you need to build your support system. And, when we think about the reluctancy that Moses had, the feeling that he was inadequate and he couldn't do it, God met Moses right where he was, right? And he met him where he was by aligning Moses with Aaron, right? Moses was like, I can't speak. It's believed that Moses had a stuttering problem. So God said, don't worry about that. I got you. I'm going to take care of that. Aaron is a fabulous speaker and he's going to be your spokesperson, right? He's going to come alongside you. And this is not the only case where you see that. You also see that in the story of, is it Barak with Deborah, I think in the book of Judges, where, God allowed him to have the aid of her in what he had to do. And so Aaron becomes Moses's spokesperson. He becomes his partner in purpose. And here's the next lesson. Here's a lesson that's tied to that is this thought that we don't have to do it alone. Successful entrepreneurs, leaders, and business owners, guess what? They don't know everything, right? They don't know everything. And maybe one can even say they don't know most things. But what they do know how to do, what they have practiced doing, is surrounding themselves with a group of individuals that are able to pick up the slack where they have left it, right? They have surrounded themselves with individuals that have the knowledge gap to fill in the areas where they are lacking. And so they always have a ready source of knowledge and information just because they've surrounded themselves with such. So here's what I want you to start to do. Here's what I am doing for myself. And that is surrounding yourself with individuals. Call them mentors, call them advisors. I don't care what word you want to put to it, but just a group of people that you can turn to when you have questions, when you need guidance, when you need insight, just people that you feel comfortable kind of shooting the breeze with and getting understanding. And then another aspect that I think is important is also surrounding yourself with other individuals that are on this journey called entrepreneurship and business ownership. Individuals that are walking the walk, right? Maybe some of them might be ahead of you in terms of the journey. Some of them are walking right where you are currently walking. And then there are others that are behind you. All of these individuals have value, and all of these individuals are people that you should align yourself with. And then really just leveraging other opportunities, networking and support systems through social media and other things are also valuable to helping to build a group, a support system that can help you to not walk this journey by yourself. So here's where I want to leave this in conclusion. At the end of the day, imposter syndrome isn't about what you can or can't do, right? It's about trusting who called you to do this, right? It's not about looking at yourself and picking yourself apart to look at the things that you don't do well or to look at the areas that you can improve on. It's about focusing on the fact that if you, God, have enough trust in me to call me to do this thing, and I know you to be a God of all wisdom and knowledge and you're omnipotent, omniscient, and think about all the words you want to put into that, right? If you're such a God, then I have to be able to trust that you know what you are doing when you've called me to do this thing in spite of how I feel about it, okay? And so the next time those little voices, whispers in your head, you're not good enough, I want you to remind yourself that I am called, number one. I have what I need, and I am not alone. I am called, I have what I need, and I'm not alone. Here's what I want you to do for me in the comments below. I want you to drop a comment of one thing that you're stepping out into despite the self-doubt. And I'm going to go first. I will go first, and I will share what I'm doing now with this video. This is one of those things that I'm stepping out in despite of the self-doubt and maybe some of the angst around it, because I feel like God is calling me to do it, right? I felt like he's been saying that for a while. But like Moses, I'm like, nah, other people have it, Lord. There's other people that are doing a great job. Let me just let them continue to do what they're doing. But no, I feel like God is saying, I have a space for your voice as well. And so I'm going to be obedient and walk in that. And if this message has resonated with you, I want you to hit like and subscribe for more faith-driven business insights as we really look at this journey of entrepreneurship and business owner in all of its facets. And finally, here's what I'm leaving you with. You ready? You listening? Okay. You're not an imposter. You're not an imposter. You're exactly where you're meant to be.